Hello and welcome to the Trading Post podcast, where we unlock the secrets of business-to-business trade, dive into powerful networking strategies, and share my exciting journey of using a podcast to market my business instead of relying on SEO. I'm your host, Trader Stu.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Trading Post podcast with your host, Trader Stu. I have been slacking, I guess, 2 weeks and a day since I've recorded and uploaded an episode. Perhaps that's what I go back to. I'm not sure. Maybe I do an every other week thing because the time goes by so dang fast and so much has happened since I last uploaded an episode. So, catching you up here real quick. The last episode I was talking about starting, a prepping season 4, so to speak, on the channel here. And it's funny how things happen because I've been in the kind of the prepping journeys for years, decades now. And, just because I lived in hurricane area in Florida and, I was in the war and all that good stuff, right? So I've seen what can and could happen, and nobody's special and nobody gets away for free. But a turn has kind of happened to where I was kind of thinking about getting rid of my backyard garden, because it seems like always something happens to where it doesn't finish, right? So either a couple of years ago, of course, my son was born and I let that go because, of course, obviously that was more important. And so we didn't get much off of it, maybe some beans, a couple of ears of corn, no big deal. And then last summer or whatever, we started just the strawberry patch kind of took off and then once the strawberries were kind of weaned out, then the grass took over. And I was like just staring at, 6 foot tall decorative grass essentially at that point. And took over the elevated garden, started a hugelkultur garden, and then I made it a raised bed garden with cinder blocks, and then it just kind of like, you just lose. I started other projects and I just lost motivation. However, the kids loved it. I mean, my son Lincoln, he just loved the fresh strawberries, and as a matter of fact, he wouldn't eat store-bought strawberries for a little while because they just don't compare, So nothing's as sweet and as rich as a backyard strawberry. So that kind of kept me going. And now I'm like, I don't know, like the animals keep taking over. So we got a lot of wildlife. We're only a couple yards, like literally like big backyards, people's yards, away from a golf course, which is also the Clinton River. And man, the amount of creatures that come through and just harvest their own. I don't know how anybody does gardens. So then I was like, do I do a greenhouse? Do I fence it in? What do we do here? Because the woodchucks and the birds and the deer are just savages. We got rabbits, all of it, right? So here I am, getting excited for pumpkins or whatever and watermelon. And then you go out the next day and there's a big old chunk taken out of it. It just chewed up. You're like, man, I don't know. It's just kind of like deflating. So you're just like, screw it. So I'll just do like, I don't know, maybe potatoes, stuff underground that grows underground. But even then you got your own other problems with that crap too, right? So then you're like elevated gardens, whatever. And anyway, then you got the neighbors calling on me. They called the township for having rabbits, and then I had to get rid of the rabbits. And then the one neighbor talked to their neighbor, and they turned down my chicken permit. So we can't have chickens. There goes that, the eggs or whatever like that. And don't get me wrong, the chicken coop I have to build is thousands of dollars because it has to have a 2-foot deep rat wall. It's got to be, whatever, all kinds of crap, right? So for the regs, not worth it. It's not cost effective, that's for sure. And by the way, I don't think it takes a long time to get an ROI back, I think, on any kind of backyard gardening. By the time you pay for equipment, if you do raised beds and soil and whatever. So it's like, to me, it's more of like self-sufficiency, or just like, not even that. Because, I mean, if the grid goes down and SHTF happens and April, March, whatever, right? You don't get food until 2 months later. So you're screwed. Like you're going to starve. So, by the time stuff, you gotta be rocking it and have supply back like from last year for you to be self-sufficient. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm gonna grow, a backyard garden, a victory garden for when it all goes down this year, 2026, this year we're all gonna get blown up, right? You should have already had a garden 2 years ago because you need to have the potatoes in the basement or the winter squash in the basement and the carrots were already in your backstock. You can't eat off of a garden as it grows. That doesn't make any sense. You've already had to have canned the tomatoes from last year's garden in the basement in the canning jars for 26 when it all goes down. So you got to think 1 or 2 years back to be prepped for the current year, right? So anyway, it's just got, with my son, and I thought about it. You go back and forth. You're like, do I do this, keep going because it takes time away? But really, it doesn't because the littlest one, he loves being outside. He's only 2.5 and he's going stir crazy right now. In fact, we put him in like a daycare for a few hours, a couple of days a week, just for him to like socialize and burn off some energy because we just can't do it. Like you can't go to, jungle Java enough or whatever to like get him, the energy burned out, right? So at least for the winter, he's in this like transitions program. They call it, it's like a preschool. But if I'm outside, now he's getting to the point to where I ain't got to watch him like a hawk no more. I can just, the yard is fenced in. So as long as I'm out there, he can rock it, right? I don't got to be with him all the time. So now I can maybe like do something constructive and just sitting in a yard chair and trying not to drink a beer because there's nothing else to do. So maybe now I do the gardening thing while he's out there and then we're all outside and then he's happy. I'm happy because I'm being constructive and also enjoying time with him and watching him, and he can come over and help too, with the garden. So you go back and forth in your head about these things, right? So now it's just like I got kind of prophesized. I'm not really too big into religion. I'm like a believer of the higher order, but I don't know how much like into it. Anyway, I kind of mistakenly made friends with the pastor, or in the process of becoming friends. And because my son goes to his preschool and we're members of the church, and he ended up just living in the same neighborhood I do. He's actually on the walking, where my family, when we all walk in the summer, he's on the path. Like he's in the turn we pass his house every time we take a walk, right? So he's that close. So we're just like kind of becoming friends because it's like we're into the same things. He was military and whatever, right? We're close. And it's just like when you're an adult, as you know, unless you're close and convenient, you're not going to become friends or stay friends very long because it's just, if you got kids, it's just inconvenient, right? So anyway, so he said, I think you're supposed to have I think you might be like a kind of like a go-to guy when everything goes awry. Because he believes too, like, I mean, if you don't believe something's going to happen, dude, gold is almost $6,000 an ounce. I think silver is like 90 some bucks an ounce. We got tensions everywhere in Taiwan and China screwing around, whatever with them. And you got Iran and you got Israel and Palestine and you got South America. We're down there and the Venezuela thing. And it's just like, dude, something's got to pop off eventually. It's just too much built up to not go anywhere with it. So we're already in World War III, I think. I mean, we're already doing it. It's just war is different now than, yesteryear, right? So I think we're already in it. Anyway, the pastor was like, dude, I think that you might be a go-to guy. Now for me, in my head, prepping to me was always like, all right, when it all goes down, I can't afford a bunker. Bunkers are like, $500,000 for one that I want, for more than just a basement, secure doors, and you got the air filtration system and water and sewer and maybe even like a garden and, like hydroponics, whatever. So, the one I want is way out of my league. So, but I still always kind of think about like hunkering down and like shooting anybody that comes onto my property when, we're in martial law or whatever, right? So for me, I was always like protecting my family, protecting my food source, and we're going to go as long as we can without any help. Well, I've learned over the years, you need community. So if you don't have community, you're screwed. And I learned that the hard way by last year. I had no job, a year and a half ago now. No, geez, it's been 2 Januaries. 2 Januaries ago, I got laid off, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to like try and be like a homesteader, and I'm going to just burn wood only and keep the house heated with just a fireplace insert that we have. We have a wood stove, and not use the boiler. Just experiment, see if I can do it. I don't think I lasted a month. I got sick as a dog, dude. I mean, I'm talking about like, I couldn't even go upstairs. My wife brought down a mattress, I think, from my son, my 2.5-year-old. I slept on a baby mattress, just so I could be on the ground and not fall off anything. And I was disoriented and dizzy and puking, and it was just like miserable. And of course, I couldn't split wood or I couldn't haul wood, and I sure as hell didn't want to go outside and grab wood when it was cold out and I'm freezing, and I didn't have the energy or the strength to carry wood in and tend the fire every few hours, right? And I have a fireplace insert, so it's every few hours, not every 45 minutes. It's like you can go 4 or 5 hours and not have to reload it because just the way it's so efficient. But even then, it's just brutal. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? I can't do it. This is why the mountain men, when they were out like panning for gold, in the Wild West, they all died. Because you got your donkey and your bag of coffee and bag of sugar and a bag of potatoes, and something happens to you, you get sick, you're done. Like, you're just dead. Sorry. Like, and I would have died. Like, if I was up in the mountains, I would have frozen to death for sure, dude. I would have been dead. So I was like, all right, community's all right. So when he said that, immediately though, you're the go-to guy. You're gonna be like a source, a hub, or whatever. I'm like, I immediately got kind of defensive, but I let it go. I didn't say nothing. I'm like, all right, well, okay. And then what else happened? Oh, then I was at a networking event, and it's Christian-based networking event place. And this one lady was like, I think that you need to start your ministry. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, well, I'm not like a pastor, and she goes, no, it's not like that. Ministry is like, you do something for like the greater good, but not for yourself, so to speak. I was like, you mean like, could I do like with prepping or whatever? And she's like, yep, you could be like ministry of prepping or whatever. Like, you just have like men or women or whoever, like, that are in need, looking for a place to go do something, and they're looking for community is basically what I think a ministry is. I think it's just a bunch of people that are looking for community that might not want to go to church. I don't know, maybe. I have no idea. I look more into this, but I kind of got teary-eyed, dude. I got my eyes welled up with tears. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take that on. Are you crazy right now? Like, but at the same time, I kind of knew I had to, because for some reason I keep thinking about like a combo of maybe like women that are looking to like escape like battered women or whatever, like abusive, or like her husbands or dudes are beating the kids up or beating the chick up, and they have nowhere to go, and then combine that with possibly like veterans that are looking for something higher than them. That the reason why they get depressed when you go to the military is because you lose that camaraderie and something that's bigger than you. That's why vets get depressed. That's why it was anyways. And perhaps they're just like called to like protect the women and kids. I don't know. And we're like kind of like, I don't say a compound, but like, maybe a commune. Commune sounds kind of like, what do you call it? A little culty, but you know what I'm saying? Like a secure location or a secure area where nobody knows where the girls are and the kids, and perhaps it's fenced in, and I don't know, the veterans can maybe just all hang out and farm and take care of animals and sell it at a farmers markets or side of the road. I don't know. Like, I'm not even sure what this looks like yet. In my head, it looks kind of like that. Or like there's this like a mansion that's for sale in Detroit that I would love to buy. It was for sale for like $6 million, but I think it's down to $1 million now. And it was built for a cardinal or a bishop. I think it was a bishop. And then a bunch of cardinals end up living into it. But it has its own private chapel. It's all stained glass. It's a huge, huge house. But the problem is it's in an HOA. Probably definitely could not do what I wanted to do with it. I mean, you have to get all the approvals and with the HOAs, but it's not a great area. It's in a bad area of Detroit. And from what I've been told anyways, I haven't drove to it yet, but I think it's called the Bishop Mansion or something like that. Anyway, and to have a garden and to have animals, I'm definitely sure the HOA isn't allowing farm animals. I mean, I can't even do it in Clinton Township. I keep getting in so much trouble with these guys. They must think I'm a freak. Because I am like so eccentric to be living where I'm at, and I keep getting in trouble with the township for firewood and rabbits, and I had ducks at one point. I was going to do duck eggs. What else? I was trying to do chickens. I asked if I can't do any of that, can I do, was that not partridge, not doves? What do you call them? The little egg, quail. Quail I heard are great for homesteaders because they don't eat a lot of food. They produce a ton of eggs, and you can eat them like quickly, and you churn and burn them too. They go from like chick to egg layer, and I think it's like 5 or 6 weeks, where a chicken is like, I think 5 or 6 months. So, you turn it and burn them a lot faster. And they're easier to hatch, I guess. I don't know. I heard that they're just the thing to have. Anyway, and they said, no, you can't do that. It's a farm animal. I'm like, dude, every time I churn, see, that's the thing. I get stuck and churned down everywhere I go to try and be like, self-sufficient. And I definitely can't move out to the country right now unless I can pay cash for it. So I'm meant to win the lotto because I have golden handcuffs because I bought my house in 2020 when interest rates were crazy low, and so I got the VA loan, and no, I don't have PMI, private mortgage insurance, because it's VA loan. I got my payment for my house is cheaper than most apartments, right? And I got a nice place, so I can't move, can't sell it, because it's, where do you go? I mean, I'm not going to buy anything for what I can sell it for with acreage, that's for dang sure. So I'm just like, all right. So this lady was like, just put the balls in motion and things will just start happening for you. If it's meant to be, like, doors will open. I'm like, all right, well. So here I am again, another attempt at trying to be kind of like a homesteader, maybe this time with help, I guess. You just fail your way to success. I don't know what that looks like. Like I said, we have a greenhouse too, and I tried doing a hydroponic, aquaponics with it, grow towers, the hybrid, what do you call it? The ebb and flow system, the deep water culture. What's the other one? Wicking bed. I tried that. And they produce a little bit, but not enough to like write home to mom about. Mostly it's failure. It's probably like 90% not successful, and you get just a couple of things here and there. You're like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, so now I don't know. I don't know what to, I mean, I'm bloating this on the prepping season because I'm talking about about it, and this might be a business one day, and maybe we can sell some things and be self-sufficient in that aspect, and maybe help some people along the way too. And we kind of already are. My wife is anyways. I mean, I guess I am funding it because I'm the breadwinner, but we already are helping a lady out with X issues and, with the kids and stuff. So, but yeah, they became friends. So it's cool. It's all happening. But to combine that now with, prepping or homesteading or I don't know. I always kind of thought too, and so if I didn't do the mansion thing, have a house or property kind of like on a river and then have these like, you can buy these houses. They're like trailers ish. They look like miniature log cabins. And, they got a loft and they have a bedroom on the main floor, a loft upstairs, like maybe where the kids could be. And then got full kitchen, full bathroom, small, tiny little living room, and then like a little screen-in porch. And I think even like maybe a little fireplace. Perfect, right? It's all you need for like temporary housing or whatever for, people that are coming and going. And just kind of have a bunch of those, kind of like a campground, area. Or maybe even do something with like, you ever been to the Renaissance Festival? How they have like a little village? I always thought that'd be dope too. Like build a little village, but like we all live there. I know the Michigan Renaissance Festival, they have campers, the people that are performers there, I guess they live there part-time, and they're campers. But make something like that, but permanent, and then maybe have the little shops to where, it's a draw, like not tourist draw, but people can come there and shop and like get like homemade, insert whatever the girls are making to raise money to go live on their own or whatever. I don't know. Or the vets, right? I mean, there's just so much up in the air. So I'll hopefully maybe this podcast turns into something like that, like to where I'll be uploading, updates about the progress of wherever this goes. I don't know if it's going to be like I win the lotto or whatever, and I get the mansion or I get property, or I haven't thought about buying or leasing out old Kmarts. There are these old, in the malls, they have the old Sears or the old Macy's, and do like a hangout in there, and hire like one of those, like a pond, those with the liners, and have like a hangout there for like kids to play in the creek or something. You know what I mean? Like a homemade creek. I don't know, dude. But the moisture problem with that would be crazy. It would rot out. There would be no way I'd get approved for that. But yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at. That's the update. That's what we're doing now. Apparently, starting a ministry of prepping. The ministry of prepping. It's like Harry Potter. Anyway, that's it. Don't have anything else to say about that. So whatever y'all do out there, be good or be good at it.